Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the human ship, Harmony. She looked out at the massive alien vessel floating in space before them. The ship was dark metal with sharp edges that looked like teeth. It belonged to the Vorthak Empire, a race that ruled 3-star systems with an iron fist. "Remember, everyone," Sarah said to her team, "we're here to make peace. The Vorthak have been expanding toward human space. We need to show them we can work together." Sarah was Earth's best diplomat. She had solved conflicts on 12 different worlds. Her calm voice and steady hands had prevented 3 wars. But she had never dealt with aliens like the Vorthak before. The alien ship sent a message. "Humans may board, come alone. Your leader only." Sarah's second-in-command, Lieutenant Torres, shook his head. "Commander, this doesn't feel right." "They want you alone? That's not normal diplomatic protocol." Sarah checked her uniform and picked up her translator device. "They're testing us, Torres. They want to see if we're brave enough to trust them. I have to show good faith." The shuttle ride to the Vorthak ship was short, but tense. Sarah looked out the small window at the alien vessel growing larger. She could see strange symbols carved into the hull. They looked like pictures of creatures in pain. The docking bay was cold and dark. Strange blue lights cast long shadows everywhere. The air smelled like metal and something else Sarah couldn't identify. It made her nose burn a little. 3 Vorthak waited for her. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, with gray skin that looked like stone. Their faces were long and narrow, with small black eyes that never seemed to blink. They wore dark robes with those same painful symbols. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of Earth," she said clearly. "I come in peace to speak with your leaders." The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Inquisitor Zethkar. You will follow us, human. Your leaders sent you to make agreements, yes?" Sarah nodded. "Yes. We hope our people can be friends and trade partners." Zethkar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded like grinding rocks. "Friends? You know nothing of friendship, soft creature. True friendship comes through shared suffering. It comes through pain that makes you strong." They walked through long corridors filled with more of those blue lights. Sarah noticed strange devices mounted on the walls. They had sharp points and looked like they were designed to hurt someone. The translator told her the writing on them meant purification tools. "Tell me about your purification," Sarah said, trying to understand their culture. Zethkar's black eyes seemed to shine. "Pain reveals truth, human. When someone suffers enough, they cannot lie anymore. They become pure. They become strong. Your people look weak and soft. Have you ever truly suffered?" Sarah thought about human history. Wars, diseases, natural disasters, the long journey to the stars. "My people have known great suffering. We've survived much." Survived. Zethkar stopped walking and looked down at her. "Or just avoided real testing? Look at you. Smooth skin, no scars, no marks of true trials. Your species hides from pain like children." They entered a large room with a high ceiling. In the center was a metal table with straps and chains. Around the walls were more of those sharp devices. Some had dried blood on them. Sarah's stomach felt cold, but she kept her face calm. "The agreement you want," Zethkar said, "requires trust. And trust requires purification. You must be tested to prove your people are worthy of Vorthak friendship." "What kind of test?" Sarah asked, though she was starting to understand. "You will experience the truth pain. If you prove strong, we will respect your species. If you break quickly like we expect, we will know humans are too weak for alliance. Your people will submit to us instead." More Vorthak entered the room. They carried strange tools that hummed with energy. Sarah realized she had walked into a trap. This wasn't diplomacy. This was judgment. "I need to contact my ship," Sarah said firmly. Zethkar shook his head. No contact. The test begins now. Do not resist, human. Resistance only makes the purification longer. 4 Vorthak grabbed Sarah's arms. She was strong for a human, but they were much larger. They forced her toward the metal table. Sarah's mind raced. She could try to fight, but she was one person against dozens of aliens on their own ship. "Wait," she called out. "If I submit to this test, you'll honor whatever agreement we make?" Zethkar paused. "If you survive the purification without breaking, yes. But humans are weak. You will beg us to stop within 1 hour." Sarah looked around the room at all the torture devices, at the aliens watching her with their cold eyes. She thought about her crew on the Harmony. She thought about Earth and the billion humans who needed peace with the Vorthak. "I accept your test," she said quietly. They strapped her to the cold metal table. The chains were tight around her wrists and ankles. Zethkar picked up a device that looked like a thin metal rod with a crystal at the end. "This will cause pain in your nerves directly," he explained. "Most species last perhaps 2 hours before their minds break. We will see how long humans can endure." Sarah closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She thought about her training, about her duty, about everyone counting on her. She had to show the Vorthak that humans were strong. The pain hit her like lightning made of fire. She screamed. The pain was unlike anything Sarah had ever felt. It started in her chest and spread through every nerve in her body like liquid fire. The Vorthak device sent energy directly into her nervous system, making her feel like she was burning from the inside. "Tell us about human military strength," Zethkar demanded, holding the pain device steady. Sarah gritted her teeth. "I already told you. We want peace." Zethkar increased the power. Sarah's back arched against the metal table. Her vision went white, but she didn't give them the military secrets they wanted. "Interesting," said another Vorthak. "Most species begin revealing information within minutes. This one has lasted 2 hours." Sarah had lost track of time. The pain came in waves now. Sometimes it was sharp like knives cutting her. Sometimes it was deep and throbbing like her bones were breaking over and over. Her throat was raw from screaming. "Human," Zethkar said, "your body is failing. Your heart beats too fast. Your brain shows signs of damage. End this foolishness. Tell us what we want to know." "Go to hell," Sarah whispered. The aliens looked confused. The translator couldn't find a good translation for that phrase. Zethkar picked up a different device. This one was larger and had multiple crystal points. "This tool is more direct. It will damage your body as well as cause pain. You may not survive if we use this." Sarah looked at him with eyes that were bloodshot and tired. "Do your worst." The new device felt like being struck by lightning while drowning in acid. Sarah's body convulsed so hard, the metal table shook. She could taste blood in her mouth. Her heart felt like it was going to explode. Hours passed. The aliens took turns with different torture devices. They seemed fascinated that Sarah hadn't broken yet. They took notes on devices that looked like black tablets. "Her resistance is remarkable," one alien said to another. "Perhaps humans are stronger than we thought. Or perhaps they are simply more stupid," Zethkar replied. "No intelligent being would endure this for pride alone." Sarah's vision was fading. She could feel her body shutting down. Her heart was beating wrong, skipping beats and then racing. Her breathing was shallow and painful. I think she's dying," one of the younger Vorthak said. Zethkar checked a scanner device. "Yes. Heart failure, brain activity dropping. Cellular damage is too extensive." He sounded disappointed. 6 hours and 18 minutes. Better than most species, but she breaks through death instead of truth." Sarah tried to speak, but no sound came out. The room was getting dark around the edges. She thought about her crew, about Earth, about everyone she was fighting for. She had to hold on, she had to. The monitors attached to her body went flat. No heartbeat, no brain activity, no breathing. "Time of death, 14 hours, 32 minutes, ship time," Zethkar announced. He turned off the torture devices. "Remove the body. Another failed purification." The Vorthak unstrapped Sarah's lifeless body from the table. Her skin was pale and cold. Her eyes stared at nothing. They placed her on a mobile platform to take her to the disposal area. "Should we inform the human ship?" asked one of the aliens. "Not yet," Zethkar said. "First we search the body for hidden devices. Then we tell them their leader was too weak for purification. They will submit to avoid the same fate." The aliens left Sarah's body on the platform in a storage room. They had other things to do. The Vorthak were already planning their next moves against humanity. 35 minutes passed. The storage room was quiet and cold. Sarah's body lay still on the platform, her face pale and peaceful. 36 minutes, 37 minutes. Sarah's eyes snapped open. She drew in a huge breath, like someone who had been underwater too long. Her heart started beating again, strong and steady. She sat up on the platform and looked around the storage room. She was alone. Sarah flexed her fingers and moved her arms. Everything worked, though she felt stiff and sore. She could remember everything, the pain, the questions, the moment when her heart stopped. She remembered dying. But here she was. Sarah had known this might happen. It was humanity's greatest secret, known only to a few government leaders and military commanders. Not every human could do it. Maybe 1 in 1,000 had the ability. And it only worked if someone died fighting for something more important than their own life. Sarah had died protecting Earth's secrets, died rather than let her people become slaves to the Vorthak Empire. That had been enough. She quietly got off the platform and moved to the storage room door. She pressed her ear against it and listened. Footsteps in the corridor outside, but they were moving away. Sarah tested the door. It wasn't locked. Why would they lock in a dead body? She slipped into the corridor and began moving carefully through the ship. She needed to find a communication device to contact her crew. She needed to let them know she was alive. But first, she had some unfinished business with Inquisitor Zethkar. Sarah moved through the dark corridors like a ghost. The Vorthak had no idea that their dead prisoner was now free and hunting through their ship. The aliens wanted to test human strength through pain. Sarah was about to show them what humans were really capable of. She had died for Earth once. She was ready to do it again if needed. But this time, she was going to make sure the Vorthak remembered the lesson. Sarah moved through the alien ship like a shadow. Her bare feet made no sound on the cold metal floors. She had learned the layout during her time being dragged to different torture chambers. The Vorthak were confident and careless. They never expected their victims to escape. She found a communication console in what looked like a guard station. Her fingers moved quickly over the strange symbols. The universal translator helped her navigate the system. Within minutes, she had sent a coded message to the Harmony. "Package delivered. Working on return shipping." Her crew would understand. Sarah was alive and had a plan. Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. Sarah quickly hid behind a support beam as 2 Vorthak guards walked past. They were talking in their grinding voices about the weak human female who had died so easily. "Zethkar expected more from their species," one guard said. 6 hours is nothing. The Keltharian prisoners lasted for days." Sarah waited until they passed, then continued deeper into the ship. She needed information about Vorthak weaknesses. She needed weapons. And she needed to understand their military structure. She found what she was looking for in a computer terminal near the ship's command center. The Vorthak kept detailed records of every species they had conquered. Sarah read through files about dozens of different races, all broken by torture, all now serving the Empire as slaves. But one file made her blood run cold. It was labeled Project Expansion, Sol System. The Vorthak weren't just planning to conquer Earth. They were planning to use humans as test subjects for new torture methods. They wanted to see how long humans could survive different types of pain. Sarah was so focused on reading that she almost didn't hear the footsteps behind her. The dead human walks. She turned to see Zethkar standing in the doorway with 4 guards. The alien's black eyes were wide with something that might have been fear. "Impossible," Sarah said calmly. "I'm clearly still dead. This must be a hallucination." Zethkar stepped closer, holding a scanning device. "You have no heartbeat when we checked. No brain activity. No cellular regeneration. How do you live?" Sarah stood up slowly, making no threatening moves. "Maybe your equipment is broken, or maybe you don't know as much about humans as you think." The alien's face twisted with anger. "Seize her! Return her to the purification chamber! We will learn this trick!" The guards grabbed Sarah's arms. This time she didn't resist. She let them drag her back to the torture room and strap her to the metal table again. She wanted to see how they would react to what came next. "Now," Zethkar said, picking up the most powerful pain device, "you will tell us how you survived death. And you will tell us everything about human military defenses." "I told you before," Sarah said. "Go to hell." This time the pain was worse because her body was already damaged from the first session. Every nerve felt like it was on fire. Sarah screamed, but she had screamed before. The pain was terrible, but it wasn't new. "How did you return from death?" Zethkar demanded. "Maybe I never died," Sarah gasped. "Maybe humans are just harder to kill than you thought." They tortured her for 3 more hours. This time they used devices that damaged her body even more. Sarah felt her ribs crack. Her vision went dark from blood loss. Her heart stopped twice during the session, but they brought her back with medical devices. Finally, her body gave up again. The monitors went flat. No heartbeat, no brain activity. 41 minutes this time, Zethkar announced. Still died like any other creature. But this time they watched the body. They posted guards around Sarah's corpse. They wanted to see if she would come back again. 38 minutes later, Sarah opened her eyes while 4 Vorthak guards stared at her in terror. "Round 3?" she asked cheerfully. The guards stumbled backward. One of them made a sound like a wounded animal. They had never seen anything like this in 3,000 years of conquering other species. "Bring Zethkar!" one guard shouted. "Bring him now!" When the Inquisitor arrived, his calm confidence was gone. He stared at Sarah like she was a monster. "What are you?" he whispered. "I'm human," Sarah said simply. "This is what we do. We don't stay down." This time they didn't torture her. Instead, they questioned her while she was strapped to the table. "Your species can return from death?" "Some of us, when we have good reason." "How many of your people have this ability?" "Enough." "How long can you continue returning? How long do you want to keep killing me?" Zethkar looked at his data tablets, studying the readings from both her deaths. "Your body shows real death. Complete biological failure. This is not healing or regeneration. This is resurrection." "If you say so." "Why do you return? What force brings you back?" Sarah looked directly into his black eyes. "Spite, mostly. And the fact that my people are counting on me. I can't let them down just because I died." The aliens held quick conferences in their own language, speaking too fast for the translator to follow. Sarah caught a few words. Impossible, legends, and something that might have meant the undying ones. Finally, Zethkar approached the table again. "There are stories in our ancient texts, warnings about a race that could not be killed, a species that grew stronger through death instead of weaker. We thought they were myths." "Surprise," Sarah said dryly. If your entire species has this ability, then you picked the wrong fight, Sarah finished. We don't conquest easy, we don't break easy, and we really don't die easy. Zethkar was quiet for a long time. Sarah could see him thinking, calculating, probably realizing that the Vorthak Empire had just learned about an enemy they couldn't defeat through their normal methods. What do you want, human? I want you to let me go. I want you to leave human space alone. And I want you to send a message to your empire that humans are not good victims. And if we refuse? Sarah smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then I guess you'll have to keep killing me until you get tired of it. How's your schedule looking for the next few years? Zethkar made a mistake. He thought he could break Sarah's spirit by killing her over and over again. He wanted to find the limit of human resurrection. He wanted to prove that even the undying ones could be defeated. So they killed her a third time, then a fourth, then a fifth. Each time, Sarah came back within 40 minutes. Each time she was calmer and more focused, and each time she learned something new about the ship. During her third death, she counted the guards' footsteps in the corridor outside. She learned their patrol schedule. During her fourth death, she listened to the aliens talking and started understanding some of their language without the translator. During her fifth death, she noticed that one of her restraints was loose. By her sixth death, Sarah had a plan. When she came back the sixth time, Zethkar was waiting with a group of alien scientists. They had brought more advanced monitoring equipment. They wanted to study exactly how human resurrection worked. "Welcome back, Undying One," Zethkar said mockingly. "Are you ready to tell us the secret yet?" "The secret?" Sarah tested her restraints. The loose one was looser now. "The secret is that humans are too stubborn to stay dead when we have work to finish." "Impossible. Death is biological failure. Consciousness cannot exist without brain activity." "Maybe consciousness is bigger than you think. Maybe willpower is stronger than biology." They killed her again. This time they tried spacing her, throwing her body out an airlock into the vacuum. Sarah experienced the horrible pain of decompression and freezing. Then the darkness of death. 39 minutes later, she was breathing again in the medical bay where they had brought her body for study. But this time, when they weren't looking, Sarah worked the loose restraint completely free. She waited. She listened. She learned the guard rotations perfectly. During her seventh death, Sarah stayed dead longer than usual. She controlled her breathing and heartbeat, making the aliens think something had changed. They relaxed their guard. When they left her alone for just 5 minutes, Sarah opened her eyes and got to work. Free from the restraints, she moved quickly through the ship. She knew exactly where to go now. She had memorized the layout during all her trips back and forth to different torture chambers. First, she went to the armory. Vorthak weapons were designed for their larger hands, but Sarah found energy pistols she could use. She also found something better, a small explosive device meant for ship repairs. Next, she went to the communications center. Sarah sent a detailed message to the Harmony with everything she had learned about Vorthak military structure, ship designs, and weaknesses. Then she set the explosive device on the ship's main power core with a timer. But Sarah wasn't done. She had been tortured and killed 7 times by these aliens. They wanted to study human pain tolerance. She was going to teach them about human revenge. She made her way to Zethkar's quarters. The Inquisitor was reviewing data files when Sarah walked in. He looked up from his tablet and his mouth fell open. "You were dead. We confirmed it. I got better." Sarah held up the Vorthak energy weapon. "We need to talk." Zethkar reached for an alarm button, but Sarah shot the console. The energy blast melted the communication device. "Sit down," Sarah said calmly. The alien sat. For the first time since she had met him, Zethkar looked afraid. "You tortured me for information about human defenses," Sarah said. "You killed me 7 times. You plan to use my people as test subjects for new torture methods. The purification process requires— Shut up. Sarah's voice was cold as space. I'm talking now. You're listening. Sarah walked around the alien's desk, keeping the weapon pointed at him. You know what you learned about humans today? You learned that we don't break. You learned that we don't give up. And you learned that death is just an inconvenience for us. What do you want? I want you to send a message to your empire. Tell them that humans are off limits. Tell them that we're the species that comes back from the dead to hunt our enemies. Tell them that starting a war with Earth would be the last mistake they ever make. Zethkar's black eyes were wide. My people will not believe such stories. Then you'll have to prove it. Sarah smiled. You're going to show them the recordings of my deaths and resurrections. You're going to explain that humans can die in battle and return to fight again. You're going to make them understand that we're not just hard to kill, we're impossible to defeat. The lights in the room flickered. The explosive device was working. Your ship is going to have a power failure in about 10 minutes, Sarah said. Emergency systems will engage. In the confusion, I'm taking a shuttle back to my ship. You are destroying our vessel? Just the power core. Your people will survive if they're smart about emergency procedures. Consider it a lesson in human engineering. Sarah backed toward the door. Remember, Zethkar, tell your empire about the humans who don't stay dead. Tell them we're not good victims. She was almost to the door when the alien spoke again. Why do you spare us? We tortured you. We killed you repeatedly. Sarah stopped and looked back at him. Because I'm not here to genocide your species. I'm here to make peace. But if you force us to fight, you need to understand what you're getting into. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Think about it, Inquisitor, Sarah called out as she disappeared into the corridor. How do you conquer a species that sees death as a temporary setback? Sarah moved through the darkened ship as Vorthak crew members ran to emergency stations. None of them paid attention to one small human in the chaos. She reached the shuttle bay without being detected. The human shuttle was still there, waiting for her return. As Sarah powered up the shuttle, she looked back at the alien ship. The Vorthak were already working to restore power. They would succeed. She had only damaged the main core, not destroyed it. But they would never forget the human who died 7 times and came back each time stronger. Sarah opened a communication channel to the Harmony. This is Commander Chen requesting permission to come aboard. Commander! Lieutenant Torres's voice was full of relief. Are you all right? We received your coded messages, but I'm fine, Torres, and I think we're going to have peace with the Vorthak Empire after all. How can you be sure? Sarah looked at the alien ship falling behind her and smiled. Because they just learned that humans are much harder to get rid of than they thought. 3 weeks later, Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Harmony as it approached the Vorthak homeworld. She wasn't coming as a prisoner this time. She was coming as Earth's official ambassador flying a captured Vorthak ship. Commander, Lieutenant Torres said from the weapons station, we're getting hundreds of communication requests from the planet's surface. They all want to know how we acquired a Vorthak vessel. Tell them they'll find out soon enough, Sarah replied. She looked out at the massive planet ahead. The Vorthak homeworld was dark and rocky, with cities that looked like metal scars across the surface. Sarah was wearing her dress uniform now, with new medals that Earth Command had given her. One was for diplomatic service. One was for extraordinary courage. The third was classified, given only to humans who had died in service and returned to complete their mission. Very few people knew that medal existed. Commander, the communications officer called out, Inquisitor Zethkar is requesting permission to speak with you privately. Sarah had been expecting this. Put him through. Zethkar's face appeared on the main screen. The proud alien looked older somehow, and his black eyes held something that might have been respect. "Commander Chen, I see you have returned to our space." "Hello, Zethkar. I told you I would. How's the ship repair going?" "Complete. Your explosive device was precisely calibrated. Maximum disruption, minimal permanent damage." The alien paused. "My engineers are impressed by human technical skill. We're full of surprises. Speaking of which, did you deliver my message to your empire?" Zethkar was quiet for a moment. "I did. I showed them the recordings of your deaths and resurrections. I explained what I witnessed. And they did not believe me at first. They thought the recordings were falsified. They accused me of being broken by a human trick." Sarah had expected this. What changed their minds? "Research. Our scholars found the old texts, the ones I mentioned to you. Stories about the undying ones from our ancient past. Warnings left by species that encountered them thousands of years ago." "You mean other aliens met humans before?" "Not your exact species, but similar. Beings that could return from death through pure determination. The old texts call them the ones who refuse the final ending." Zethkar leaned forward. "Our ancestors feared them more than any other race in the galaxy." Sarah felt a chill. If humans weren't the only species with this ability, what did that mean for the galaxy? "Commander," Torres interrupted quietly, "we're being hailed by the Planetary Defense Fleet. 40 ships, all moving to surround us." "Let them," Sarah said. She looked back at Zethkar on the screen. "I'm here to address your leadership. Will they see me?" "The Council of Inquisitors has agreed to meet with you. But, Commander, they are afraid. An entire empire that has never known fear is now terrified of one human female." "Good. Fear makes people listen." The Harmony was escorted to the planet's surface by the Vorthak fleet. Sarah had never seen so many alien warships in one place. Each vessel was designed to look threatening, covered in spikes and sharp edges, but they kept their distance from the small human ship. The council building was a massive pyramid of black stone. Inside, Sarah found herself in a huge chamber with 50 Vorthak Inquisitors seated in rising tiers around her. They all wore ceremonial robes, covered in those same symbols of suffering. Sarah stood alone in the center of the chamber. She had refused an honor guard. She had refused weapons. She wanted the aliens to see that she wasn't afraid of them. "Commander Sarah Chen of Earth," announced the highest-ranking Inquisitor, "you stand accused of escaping lawful purification and stealing Imperial property." "I stand accused of not staying dead when you killed me," Sarah replied calmly. "Guilty as charged." Murmurs ran through the assembled aliens. Sarah could see fear in their eyes. "You will demonstrate this claimed ability," the Chief Inquisitor commanded. "We require proof." "You want me to die for you again?" Sarah shook her head. "I don't think so. You've seen the recordings. You've done your research. You know what I am." She walked in a slow circle, looking up at all the assembled Inquisitors. "Let me tell you what else I am. I'm the first human ambassador to your empire. I'm here to offer you a choice. Humans do not give choices to the Vorthak Empire. We do now." Sarah's voice echoed in the vast chamber. "Choice 1. You leave human space alone. You stop your expansion toward Earth. You recognize humanity as equals and trade partners." "And choice 2? The Chief Inquisitor asked coldly. "Choice 2 is war, and you need to understand what war with humans really means." Sarah stopped walking and faced the leader. "It means fighting an enemy that doesn't stay down. It means soldiers who can die in battle and return to fight again. It means a species that gets stronger through suffering instead of weaker." She pointed to the symbols on their robes. "You worship pain because you think it makes you strong. But you've never met a species that actually becomes stronger through pain. Humans don't just endure suffering. We learn from it. We adapt to it. We use it to fuel our determination. Impossible, one inquisitor called out. No species can— Test me, Sarah interrupted. Send your best warriors. Let them kill me. Then watch me come back and hunt them through their own ships. See how long your bravest soldiers remain brave when fighting an enemy who treats death as a minor inconvenience. The chamber fell silent. Sarah could see the aliens thinking, calculating, imagining what it would be like to fight an army of humans who could resurrect. We are the apex predators of this galaxy, Sarah continued. Not because we're the strongest or fastest or smartest, but because we never give up. We pursue our enemies across years, across star systems, across death itself if necessary. She smiled, and it was a dangerous smile. You wanted to test human strength through torture? Congratulations. You created a human who has died 7 times and came back angrier each time. Now imagine 1,000,000 humans like me all united in defending Earth. The Chief Inquisitor leaned forward. What guarantee do we have that humans will honor any agreement? The same guarantee I gave Zeth Kar. If you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. But if you threaten Earth or her colonies, you'll find out why the old texts warned against fighting the Undying Ones. Sarah reached into her uniform and pulled out a small device. This contains star charts for all of human space. Our borders, our colonies, our trade routes. Stay out of those systems, and we have no quarrel. She tossed the device onto the floor between her and the Inquisitors. But remember this, she said, as she turned to leave. I died for those worlds. I came back for those worlds. And if you threaten them, I'll show your entire empire what human vengeance really looks like. Sarah walked toward the chamber exit. The 50 Inquisitors watched her go in complete silence. At the doorway, she turned back one final time. Oh, and Zeth Kar? The Inquisitor looked up from the crowd. Thanks for the lesson in human potential. I never knew we were quite that hard to kill until you helped me find out. Sarah Chen left the council chamber and walked back to her ship. Behind her, the Vorthak Empire began the long process of changing 3,000 years of conquest-based culture. Within a month, they had signed the first non-aggression treaty in their history. The galaxy had learned a new rule: never start a fight with a species that considers death a temporary setback. And in the deepest archives of human government, a new file was created. It contained a single question that would reshape humanity's understanding of itself. If some humans can return from death through will alone, what else might we be capable of that we haven't discovered yet? The universe was about to find out.